Well, I admit definitely it is very comfortable in comparison to manual convertibles to just push a button and, you know, bring in the nature into the driving. I think it is up to 50 kilometers I can do this, and you do it quite a lot. Oh, a piece of advice: pull down the driver's window and let the passenger window be fully closed, and then you will get the best convertible experience in a Boxster from my perspective anyway. Before I start to review the 718 Boxster GTS 4.0, we need to set the prerequisites, because it took me just 10 meters of driving this vehicle to realize that you could never go head to head or compare the Boxster GTS 4.0 with the 718 Spyder. Before I run into why you cannot compare these two vehicles, let me give you another example. The 911. The Carrera range up to GTS could not be compared with the 911 Turbo, taking all the horsepower off the equation, because they are totally different in the way they drive and handle, despite if they had equal amount of horsepower. Let me try to explain why they are so different cars, the Spyder and the GTS. Rear tire 265mm wide. 295 rear tire with Cup 2 tires, which is basically race tires. A proper race chassis, big brakes as standard, red calipers with small brakes. I am now talking into the diffuser. No diffuser. High-speed aerodynamics, a really good aerodynamic. Drive mode selection. No sport selection whatsoever, it's only one mode, race only. A light, thin, uncomfortable manual top. Electrical, comfortable, thick and heavy, and isolating top. Light top, the weight distribution, the weight is going from the top down, no silly engines. Ugh. It is just built for driving. How hard can it be to understand that this is not something you compare to a GTS? It's irritating. And all these differences makes the experience of driving these cars totally different. I'd rather, how should I put it? The Spyder is a driver's tool only. You know, you're going to get fed up with it if you're going to daily drive it, where the Boxster you can actually live with during the winter. I wouldn't dare to drive the Spyder during the winter, because it does not have that allowance in the winter conditions when you drive it. I mean, the tires, just look at the tires as an example. 3 centimeters differences in tire width, and if you know anything about tires, that is extreme difference. To get the grip that you need to push the 420 horsepower from the Spyder, that will never happen with these tires, even though the PS4 is really good tires. And I understand why Porsche tuned down the engine. So I'm not gonna compare the GTS 4.0 with the Spyder, no. If you're going to compare it, you should compare it to the previous GTS with a 2.5 litre engine. Let me give you a comparison between the 2.5 litre engine and the 4.0 GTS. I'm currently driving in 2100 RPMs, and that is when you get 430 Newton meter of torque in a 2.5 litre GTS. Whereas this, when I push the throttle, well, to be honest, my Mini is actually faster than this. And pay attention to that, because the torque is what creates all that beautiful, butterflies in your belly. Now, remember, it is still valid that this engine, you need to stress it, 5,000 RPM, and push it. That's when the fun really starts, right? And that's my problem, because I get wheel spins. The chassis is not 100% tuned to have such a stressful engine, because it bends, it leans, and the weight distribution goes back and forth when I drive on the B road. So driving this car on the B roads, as I am doing right now, it is still a spectacular car to drive, but it is not as tuned. The engine does not suit the chassis. The engine is quite stressful and the chassis is too soft.
Try to hold back your emotions for a second. Everybody expects me to love the naturally aspirated flat 6, and I know many of you still want one. But this is not the perfect marriage. The 2.5 liter GTS is faster and more fun to drive on B roads. But I guess our manhood needs some counseling, and 6 is always more than 4.
It's a little bit damped in certain corners, and that's where you really feel the differences in the chassis. But it also gives rewarding driving. I mean, it's sometimes you get a bit slippery and you control it. And remember, this is still a Porsche with its fine-tuning capability. You could drive this car with only 2 fingers on the steering wheel, because the Boxster as a concept is so balanced, and I really love it. And that's why you should go to your nearest Porsche center just to test drive it with an open mind. And I think actually that many people buys 911 without taking into consideration on what they would like to gain from their driving. And that's sad. I mean, I'm a pure 911 guy, and I totally love driving the Boxsters. It's a mid-engine, beautiful sports car, and it's much closer to the older 911s than the 992, which has been growing larger. And also, one very, very big consideration is that the 992 needs space because it has become so fast. And the Boxster, you can actually have more ideal fun driving it in comparison to the 992. You don't have to go so fast, which then means that the playground for the Boxster is much larger than the 911. So that would be the main reason for me why I would go for a Boxster instead of a 911 convertible. If you follow me, you know the answer to this question, but I really would like to listen to your opinion. If you have spent your hard-earning money on a Python green, which I think is a beautiful color, would you then appreciate red calipers? Please write your opinion in the comments below. Some people defend the red calipers with the red reflector that we have on the rear, but have a look at my vehicle. Less than $10 to tint the reflector down.
The build quality feels much more reliable in the 718. I'm sad to say, but models like the Taycan does not feel as good as the 718. Also, she feels much more focused on driving, or should I say it feels more like a sports car. The Porsche DNA could not be mistaken in a 718.
I'm not sure if you could hear this, but the engine is actually shifting in tone, and there you go. That is the adaptive cylinder control shutting off the cylinder banks or the fuel injection. If you haven't heard me explaining this system, have a look at my GT4 review and it will help you through. But that is always activated when the start and stop function is on. So if I turn the start-stop function off, I will always run on 6 cylinders and you will not get that interference in the sound. Also, the GTS is equipped with drive modes, and also if you switch over to sport mode, well then obviously the adaptive cylinder control will then obviously be switched off, and also the sport exhaust will open, and then we have obviously the Sport Plus where we add up the PASM as well. Please try those settings out because it's really changed the character of this vehicle, and it's actually a party piece. And I asked Öhlins Racing a lot about these, and they are very nice and solid done by Porsche that actually makes a difference. But pay attention to these settings. I think this car is very nice equipped. On the GTS model, I kind of like the deviated stitching. I like the GTS package. Remember, these should always be an Alcantara on any convertible, or leather at least. The plastic one that comes stock, oof, looks terrible. Not in line. Crayon dials, not sure about that, but otherwise beautiful. I must admit, I have heating steering wheel in this vehicle, and it is perfect comfort edition when you drive, as I do, 10 to 17 degrees as I've been doing. Very nice. Seat heating obviously should be mandatory. It should be just follow the comfort seat. The comfort seats are really good, but we all know about my story when it comes to the bucket seats, right? Very nice acquaintance to get to know the carbon fiber gear lever. It's the first time for me, and I'm very positive. It gives a very nice solid grip, and yeah, I kind of like this one better than the stock that I have in my car. This could actually be something I would considering to change in my car. 718 Boxster GTS 4.0. What is my biggest take from this review? Well, the color. I love it. It kind of gives an extra sports car feeling to it. For whom is this car? Well, for the gentlemen that absolutely need a mid-engine sports car, that also are kind of heavily into flat six engine that are naturally aspirated. For me, I would rather select a lighter Boxster T or perhaps the GTS 2.5. Those engines are much more suitable for this chassis. Thank you for watching, and thank you for liking this video, and big thanks for your subscription. Actually from 1900 RPM. The 2.5 liter GTS delivers 430 Newton meter of torque. Var det 430? Jävla skit. So what I'm doing now, I'm checking my book to make sure, because it's very narrow between all the models. I don't want to make a mistake. And 430. Remember, 10 more Newton meters. Ooh. Well, I do struggle a bit in the corners with the softer chassis, even though I have the maximum. I got a fly in my eye. Well, that's how you bring nature into your art of driving, isn't it? I just love convertible though, even though I get flies in my eyes. Flies in my eyes. Let's hit.